Hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Business Blaze. This episode of Business Blaze is brought to you, if you couldn't guess, by Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon were like, I actually have a quote from them. They say, Simon has been doing a great job talking about the cereal, so he's free to do his own thing overall in the spot. They did say, eat the cereal on screen, out of a bowl. And I was like, guys, I mean, I love cereal, and I do normally eat out of a bowl, but you sure you want to expose my audience there? And they were like, yeah, we do. I'm like, all right then. Oh God, I'm probably taking it too far. I don't want it to go to waste. So Magic Spoon, like I've talked about them before. They previously sent me, there was the frosted, there was the choco flavor. There were a couple of others that I don't remember, and they were like, Simon, we're sending you some new flavors. And I was like, oh boy. And I saw one of the flavors was cinnamon. And I'm like, there is nothing that beats cinnamon cereal. It is unquestionably the greatest of cereals. And then I saw what they'd sent me. It arrived from FedEx. It was a large package. Check this out. Hang on. This is how much cereal these guys sent me. Do you think they have enough cereal? For f***'s sake. Okay, but I was like, guys, there is nothing that will ever beat cinnamon Magic Spoon, or cinnamon cereal in general, and Magic Spoon specifically. And then they were like, well, this is the one I've just been eating, which apparently I aggressively ripped to get into. Peanut butter flavor. I'd never even had peanut butter flavored cereal before because apparently I'm a savage. And I was like, it smells just like peanut butter, and it tastes amazing. Now, there are some things I actually do have to say about Magic Spoon, because as much as they apparently love my rambling, they have talking points and marketing materials that is required. Oh yeah, there's actually important stuff about this. It tastes amazing. It's got 0 grams of sugar. It's got 3 grams of net carbs. I think that's pretty much true across the board. Some have 4, some have 3, some have 3 again. It's not a lot of carbs and tons of protein, because protein is good for your muscles. And also, there's a maze on the back, which apparently I'm at because I still didn't finish it and I got lost so many times. Look, I generally try to be less of a piece of shit in my life. Like, I try to eat less KFC. I try to eat less McDonald's. I try to eat less sugar. I try to eat less carbs. I try to eat more protein, more vegetables, more that kind of stuff. But, vegetables are like, it's all right. You know what tastes amazing and is also good for you? Magic Spoon. Oh, also, you can build yourself a personalized cereal box of custom flavors, which is exceptionally cool. I didn't need to do that because they just sent me everything they had, apparently. A warehouse worth. Okay, click the link in the description below to check out Magic Spoon. 100% happiness guarantee, so if you don't like it, you get your money back. And also, if you go through my link below, you get free shipping. This is the world's dumbest smugglers. What happens here is I, Simon, also known as your boy with the blaze, will read a script that Danny has prepared for us. I will maybe make some funny, probably not very funny, and Sam will add some memes, which are the finest vintage memes. Let's get into it. The world's dumbest smugglers. You might be wondering, if you're new here, what the f*** is going on? What does this have to do with business? 1, welcome to Business Blaze. 2, not really anything. Over the course of the last 154 Business Blaze videos, Jesus Christ, is it really that many? I'm hopeful that regular viewers may have picked up on some fried golden nuggets of wisdom on how to become a master criminal. We hope so. That's the purpose of Business Blaze. Briefing you on criminality. We've revealed a while back in a video on incredible art heists that the most cunning strategy for stealing multi-million-dollar paintings from an art gallery is just pick it up and confidently walk out as if you own the place. But please bear in mind, this would be entirely the wrong approach if you were thinking of trying to smuggle illegal substances through customs. That's a completely different kettle of cocaine. Bada boom boom. Shh. Whether you're trying to smuggle drugs, alcohol, exotic animals, or you've got into the big league with Kinder Surprise eggs, stop emailing me! The number of times I bring it up and people still email me pictures of Kinder Joys being like, Simon, I found a Kinder Surprise! And it's like, does that fucking say Kinder Surprise on the text? Does it?
I can't have these. Those are illegal.
It's worth remembering that swaggering confidence has the opposite effect in this scenario. Customs officers are trained to sniff out people pompously parading about like a peacock, from 100 yards away. It's like, that guy's being a bit loud. Let's look inside his butt. As I first discovered many years ago, the best method to avoid suspicion and detection is to approach the customs desk in a state of bewilderment and confusion, as if you haven't got a clue what you're doing. I found this surprisingly easy to pull off, as I was genuinely in a state of bewilderment and confusion, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Who goes through customs? Just go through the green lane. You don't have to go to customs desk. There's never anyone in there. You just walk through. There's a few guys like looking like they want to go out for a cigarette. How complicated can it be? Also, I'm not a drug smuggler, so I guess I've never had that like sweaty worry of like, I've got a lot of cocaine inside my arm. I was alone the very first time I caught a plane and left the UK, and I hadn't really done much research on the security procedures and how many cigarettes I was allowed to bring back home with me. As I arrived at Manchester Airport and got ready to negotiate the final barrier of the customs desk right next to the exit, it suddenly occurred to me that I may have got a bit carried away with all the boxes of dirt cheap cigarettes that I'd bought on my trip and shoved inside my luggage. I noticed that everyone in front of me in the queue seemed to be slowly shuffling towards the exit while giving sideways glances at the customs desk and hoping that they wouldn't get stopped and searched. I've never been stopped in customs. Pretty sure that's true. Never had my bag searched, never been stopped. I guess I don't look like a drug smuggler because I'm not a drug smuggler. Although I'm always like, please don't search my bag. It's gonna take 10 minutes and I just want to get the out of here. For a brief second, I became consumed by madness. I broke out of the queue, approached the desk, slammed all my luggage on top of it, and meekly explained that I'd bought a few cigarettes and I wasn't very clued up on the allowance limit, so any advice would be appreciated. What are you doing, Danny? The customs officer gave me a warm-hearted chuckle, explained to me that a few cigarettes was no problem, and told me to be on my way. I politely thanked him and staggered out of the airport with enough cigarettes to sink a Pepsi battle fleet. Incidentally, if anyone from Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs is watching this video, I'd like to make it clear that I just made up the story for effect. Allegedly. Danny, I don't know how long this was ago, but I think you're probably okay. Honestly, even if it was yesterday. But it just goes to show how easy it is to smuggle contraband through airport security without making a critically endangered elephant's ear of the whole thing. Those examples of botched bootlegging blunders by simpleton smugglers are borderline criminal. It's terrible. Get your together, smugglers. Henderson's relish. In all my excitement, I didn't get a glass of water or a coffee for this episode because I was doing the magic spoon thing. I guess I just have to drink this milk. Have you guys seen those videos where those guys try to chug like a gallon of milk and then throw up everywhere? That's intense. If this video gets 100,000 likes, I'll do that. No, I won't. Maybe I will. 100,000 likes is a lot. It's completely unrealistic. Also, I live in Europe. We don't have gallons of anything because we're not savages. Henderson's relish. Swallowing your illegal substances before boarding a plane is one popular, if perilous, way of getting your contraband safely to the other side without detection. Take the case of Mark Henderson, a 41-year-old US national living in Panama and a former Mormon missionary. He was persuaded in 2012 that the best way of smuggling just over 2 pounds of cocaine through customs was to shove it all inside 62 condoms and swallow the lot. Sounds risky, old boy. Henderson was flying to Auckland International Airport in New Zealand from Peru, where he had been paid the equivalent of $16,000 by dodgy international dealers to smuggle the Class A drug in his stomach. He had originally agreed to swallow 92 condoms packed with the white stuff, but could only manage 62. Fucking lightweight. Trouble first started brewing aboard the flight to Auckland when poor old Henderson found himself accidentally secreting all of the condom cocktails while in his seat, which must at least be 1 league above the annoying passenger who sits in front of you and reclines his seat way too far, so it's practically in your lap. Yeah, I'd say so. It's just like, ooh, these condoms are popping out of my bottom.
No! No! Look away! Oh, poop.
What would you do in that situation? As soon as you land, you're f***ed if someone discovers what's going on. You're probably also f***ed if you throw away the condoms because the drug gang are gonna f***ing murder you. You can't go to the police because you're smuggling drugs. What would I do if I'd somehow got myself into that situation? It's guaranteed you're gonna go to prison if you get caught. So I guess I'd have to get rid of them and worry about the drug gang later. Probably go to the toilet and try to shit out as many as possible.
Look away!
And just throw them in the trash. Try and get rid of them and then wash that off me as much as possible. Hopefully them all out, because I mean, whether they lose half the condoms or all of the condoms, they're going to be pretty upset at me either way. So might as well get rid of them all and hopefully not go to prison. And then when you get there, well, I guess just go into hiding. Incidentally, why is this even allowed? I can remember on one long-haul flight, I was about halfway through watching The Adventures of Tintin, The Secret of the Unicorn on the little TV screen in front of me when the passenger front recliner seat so far back that the screen was facing the floor. It's an absolute bloody outrage. I never did find out if Tintin and Snowy ever managed to find the 3 scrolls that led to the treasure. It's alright. I mean, the seats like tilt back a bit, but then you can also tilt, like, if it's an overnight flight, everyone at some point tilts their seats back. That isn't, that's how it works. I remember once I tilted my seat back, The person in front of me had teed myself up, the person behind me had a go at me. And I'm like, I'm just not interested. So I'm tilting my seat back. You can tilt yours back if you like to. Anyway, Mark Henderson made a dash to the toilet, smart move, where he must have found that his options were quite limited. It may have crossed his mind to call it quits and just flush the condoms down the toilet, but instead he tried to salvage the desperate situation by putting the leaked condoms into a few paper bags and covering them with coffee grounds. Bro, that is not what you should be doing. If anything, I know it's nasty, but you should probably swallow them again, son. After touchdown, the engagement must have been one of the most lamest smuggling operations in history by confidently strolling past condoms while clutching the dodgy paper bags in his hands. Like I say, this method only works in an art gallery. After customs officers discovered the 25 secret Coke condoms, Henderson admitted that there were another 37 hidden inside his body, leading to a very messy waiting game at Auckland International Airport. Henderson was sentenced to 7.5 years in prison. Oh, at least he's not smuggling them to somewhere like, where are the countries that hang people for smuggling drugs? At least he was going to New Zealand, where he gets 7.5 years, rather than gets shot in like Bali or something. For smuggling the stash with a street value of around $300,000. But in many ways, he was lucky to survive. Just a year earlier, a 37-year-old woman was persuaded by her son-in-law to swallow 27 coke-filled condoms on her way to, funnily enough, Auckland International Airport. I guess the people in Auckland are massive coke fiends. She actually managed to get away with it, but there was little cause to celebrate, as less than a day later she died from a heart attack when 3 of the condoms burst inside her intestines. Whoops.
Oh, poop.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and fries. We often hear stories of ruthless mercenary swines attempting to shift endangered species through customs for souvenirs or financial gain, or just for the sake of being a massive dickhead. But this is more of a touching love story between a gentle Chinese man and his beloved pet turtle. The man, who has only been identified as Mr. Lee, well, that sounds like his name, doesn't it? Was intended to travel to Beijing, and the first leg of his journey was from Guangzhou Bayan Airport. But he couldn't bear the thought of leaving behind his pet turtle, who hasn't been identified at all, so we'll just stick to pet turtle. Danny, we don't need to identify the turtle. It's a fucking turtle. The problem was Mr. Lee feels differently. He's like, it's not any turtle. That's my beloved Betsy. The problem was that live turtles aren't allowed on flight, so Mr. Lee came up with a pretty imaginative plan to smuggle his little reptilian friend all the way to Beijing in his hand luggage. He smeared the turtle with mayonnaise and put it between 2 sesame seed buns, which he then popped inside a KFC wrapper to make the package look purposely innocent. Sadly, despite the cunning disguise, suspicions were raised as soon as Mr. Lee tried to get his hand luggage through an X-ray machine. For starters, who on earth walks into KFC and comes out with just a burger? Idiot. Who gets a KFC burger? It's a chicken restaurant. Don't get a burger, even if there's chicken in the burger. What's wrong with you? You savage. Sadly, despite this cunning disguise, suspicions were raised. Yeah, I mean, the problem is, you run through an X-ray machine. It's an X-ray machine. It sees through buns and wrappers. More significantly than the airport staff noticed that the KFC wrapper had some odd protrusions and suspicious corners, because it's got a turtle in it. Mr. Lee was given a chance to come clean, but he refused a bag search and came out with a peculiar response when asked exactly what was inside the KFC wrapper. Cocaine. There's nothing special to see inside, he claims, thinking quickly on his feet. There's no turtle in there, just a hamburger. Dude, come on, you could do better than that. This wasn't quite enough to fool the sharp-witted security staff, and the travel plans for the pet turtle were swiftly brought to an abrupt halt. I had a moment of panic there, because I couldn't feel my microphone tugging on me, and I was like, oh god, has my mic not been plugged in the whole video? That would... Thankfully, there doesn't appear to have been any serious consequences for Mr. Lee or his hero in a half shell. Ba-da-bum-bum. Mr. Lee still made his flight after making plans to leave the turtle with a friend. And while many commenters have been quite moved by the story of a man who couldn't bear to be separated from his pet, others have questioned the wisdom of shoving poor turtle through airport security where it's going to get zapped by all that radiation from X-rays. Perhaps Mr. Lee came back home to a very different turtle. I'm sure that's how the superhero origin story starts out. Oh, hilarious. Hell to pay. Some cocaine smugglers deserve at least some credit for coming up with some wildly inventive schemes. Not this one, though. This one's a f***ing imbecile. All right. And he's Colombian as well, so he should have known better. Everyone knows that everyone from Colombia is an expert in cocaine. Someone was once said, Simon, stop saying Colombia is just known for cocaine. I was like, all right, it's known for coffee as well. Chill out. The unname's like, oh no, Britain's known for tea and MDMA. The unnamed 65-year-old male arrived on a flight from Bogota, Colombia, to Barcelona Airport with about a pound of cocaine discreetly hidden on his person. That's a lot of cocaine to hide. Let's play a quick quiz. Observe the photographs on the left. Taken by the Spanish police shortly after his arrest, because yes, spoiler alert, he was caught. And if you can identify where he had his stash, you'll find the answer on the right. Oh no, it's just sitting on top of his head under a toupee. That is weak. Also, it's a really long flight to have that on your head for. It must be sweaty. Yes, this clown had glued a bag containing about $35,000 worth of coke to his balding head and then tried to conceal the package with a poor-fitting toupee, which ended up protruding several inches above his head as if it were a hovering sentient being. Yeah, that's exactly what I think of when I see that toupee rising slightly above his head. I'm like, yeah, it's alive. Perhaps the guy wasn't completely clueless. To be fair, he did try covering the toupee with a big hat when he first landed at the airport, but officials were quick to spot that a toupee appeared to be dramatically bulging out of his hat at this unusually nervous and sweaty passenger. It's not clear what happened to this Colombian after his hair-raising escapade from 2019, as he was never named. But considering that the Spanish authorities have been cracking down on drug smuggling very recently, it's likely that he faced a tough penalty. Look, you smuggle $35,000 worth of coke into Spain, you're probably going to go to prison, mate. And I bet heat scraping the glued bag off his head wasn't much fun either. Monkey business. When the American Robert Cusack arrived back from Thailand and made his way through Los Angeles International Airport, he was probably hoping he wouldn't get stopped and searched by US customs agents. As we've discussed, even if you're not smuggling anything, you hope that you're not stopped by customs agents. America's particularly bad, even non-customs. Even the guys on the border are like, why are you here? And it's like, I'm sorry. I'm not here to commit crimes. But they feel like, I feel like they expect me to be a terrorist. And then they ask you all of these friendly questions that you know are not really friendly questions. Like, oh, so yeah, and what are you doing after that? And where are you going? And I'm like, I'm just here for a conference. And they're like, what are you doing after that? Going the fuck home. And now you make me want to leave now. Why American customs? Why are you so mean? You arrive in any other country, they're like, welcome to our country, have fun. You know. It's like, you're not here for terrorism, are you? No! Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened to him on that fateful day, on the 13th of June 2002. The inspectors were taken by surprise when, upon opening the luggage, a bird of paradise came. What the a bird of paradise? Came flying out of the suitcase and started flapping around the terminal, prompting a comical scene in which airport security staff were seen chasing after this beautiful bird. And it was eluding them at every turn. After finally capturing the bird, inspectors later discovered a further 3 endangered birds of paradise lurking in Robert's luggage, along with no less than 50 protected orchids. Holy shit, dude, how big is your luggage? At this point, the inspectors turned to Robert and asked him if he had anything to declare. I would imagine that Robert chewed over his options carefully before conceding that the game was up and that he may as well spill the beans. Yes, he glumly replied. I've got monkeys in my pants. Please no. And it turns out that wasn't some weird euphemism. Robert Cusack had indeed stuffed 2 tiny lorises, I guess that's a type of monkey, into a pouch in his trousers. Although Robert may have needed to brush up on his biology, the wide-eyed and stubby-tailed loris, native to Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, may have the look of a monkey about it, but is more closely related to a lemur, and more importantly, it's an endangered species. Robert had already purchased them on his travels from a market in Indonesia and had been holding onto them in his hand luggage during the flight, but he decided to stick them down his pants just before the plane landed. Why, Robert? Why? That's the only question I have here. He later claims that he was a concerned environmentalist who was planning to open up a new sanctuary in Costa Rica. Whatever his plans were, he got sent to prison. Oh, that's unexpected. For 57 days, that's not too bad, and was ordered to donate $11,500 to a Texas facility for primates. Some leniency may have been shown in the sentencing of Robert, as he was suffering from full-blown AIDS at the time. I like how Danny says full-blown AIDS, rather than just AIDS. So we know AIDS is full-blown. That's why, we know about it. It's AIDS. The good news is that the loris was sent to a nursery at Los Angeles Zoo and went on to lead a happy life beyond the confines of Robert Cusack's pants. The bad news is that the birds of paradise all died. That's sad. Why did they die? Gay bikers on drugs. Wow, that sounds like a movie from the 60s. Some people are guilty of just overthinking things far too much. At the turn of the millennium, a network of drug-dealing bikers were keen to get their illegal steroids smuggled from Thailand over to Australia and New Zealand. What is with Australia and New Zealand and drugs? The stuff they were trying to shift was a cocktail of prohibited performance and image-enhancing drugs, including active ingredients such as testosterone and decadurabolin, particularly popular with bodybuilders who are keen to pursue shortcut cheats. It would have been fascinating to eavesdrop on the meeting in which this criminal gang of ruthless bikers decided on how they were going to disguise all the small bottles of steroids that they intended to smuggle past the prying noses of customs officers. They eventually hit upon the shrewd idea of labeling the bottles as gay lube oil. I'm not sure, because I'm not an expert on gay lube oil, but I'm fairly sure they'd just call it lube oil, or just lube. I don't think you need to specify that it's gay. You can kind of see a trace of logic in their cunning idea. It's not an uncommon strategy to hide your drugs within something that might be considered too embarrassing for a customs officer to take out and examine with intense curiosity. And these hardcore bikers felt that the bright pink bottles of gay lube oil were destined to serve as the perfect customs officer repellent. Okay, I get it. all right? But the problem is what you're actually doing here is making it blindingly obvious to everyone that you're deliberately trying to divert attention. It's speculated that they may have had more success if they'd just proudly listed all of the genuine illegal ingredients in big letters on the bottle. Well over 100 bottles of gay lube oil were seized by customs in raids across Victoria, Western Australia. It's very amusing though, isn't it? New South Wales, Queensland and South Australia. Customs National Manager Investigations Richard Janes Go, maybe, delivered a quite smug quote to the press. Customs officers were not fooled by the labelling and its misdescription. They obviously knew from a mile off that it wasn't proper gay lube oil. I love how he just leans into it. One of the more notable arrests in 2010 was that of 43-year-old Mark Rainbow, appropriately named, who received a 3-month jail sentence for his role in the smuggling operation. Former bodybuilder Mark Rainbow was the winner of Mr. Australia title twice and the Mr. New Zealand title during the 1990s, before his slippery slope of crime led him to become better known as in prison as Mr. Gay Lube Man. It's not going to work out well for you in prison, I'm guessing. Live and wired, final entry, and it's a short one. Finally, just a quick closing word on rule number 1 of smuggling. Remember, yes, this is Business Blaze. We are educating you on the ways of smuggling, and this is really just schoolboy stuff. If you don't know this, you shouldn't even be allowed to board a plane, let alone try and smuggle illegal materials across the globe. Here's the rule: don't try and smuggle an illegal product inside something else which is also illegal. Yeah, bro. It'd be like smuggling cocaine inside Kinder Eggs. Don't do it. Seriously, it sounds blindingly obvious, but you'd be surprised how often it happens. One of the most famous cases occurred in Andrade, maybe, California, where investigators came across an operation in which smugglers were preparing to get live ammunition across borders by cleverly concealing it inside packages of compressed marijuana. What are you doing? This really is almost as silly as trying to smuggle a few pounds of cocaine into the United States by stuffing it all inside 359 Kinder Surprise eggs! Danny, this is the most on the same page we've ever been, and I love it! Remember, I don't read these ahead of time. Everyone's gonna be like, Simon, you read that ahead of time. Did not. Danny and I are just simpatico, the yin and yang, the Australia and New Zealand, because they both love drugs. This has been Business Blaze. Thank you very much for watching. Please do check out our fantastic sponsor, Magic Spoon. And that's about it, guys. Thank you for watching.